A few weeks after it happened, I still caught myself thinking about that photo. The empty space where I'd been standing. How fast it all went wrong. That night keeps replaying, whether I want it to or not. So let me go back. My name is Marianne Cole. I've lived long enough to know when something small is about to turn into something permanent. Even if I don't admit it right away, it was my daughter Megan's birthday dinner. Nothing wild. Nice place. Loud enough that people talked over each other. The air smelled like garlic and wine. That kind of heavy restaurant smell that sticks to your clothes. I remember that because I kept tugging at my sleeve. Like that would help. Someone said, "Okay, picture time." We all shuffled closer. I stood there. 2 seconds. Maybe 3. Megan was in the middle, fixing the front of her dress. Smiling toward her husband's parents like she'd practiced it. They leaned in. Her husband stood beside her, relaxed, comfortable. A friend squeezed in on the other side. Then Megan turned to me, not angry, not nervous, just casual. "Mom, can you step out for a moment?" she said. "This is family." I swear my brain stalled, like it skipped a beat. I looked at her, then at the people in the frame, trying to see if I was misunderstanding something obvious. I wasn't. Her husband smiled, a polite one. The kind you give when you don't want to get involved. He didn't say a word. Nobody did. I laughed a little. I don't even know why. Muscle memory. Maybe, "Oh, okay," I said. My voice sounded normal, which annoyed me later. I stepped back. Someone slid into the space right away. The phone camera made that soft click. Done. And that was it. No follow-up, no eye contact. Just a finished picture. If you've ever felt yourself erased in real time, you know how quiet it is, no drama, no soundtrack. Just a shift you can't undo. I stood there holding my purse, feeling stupid for not moving sooner. I didn't know then that stepping out of that photo would be the last time I tried to stand inside my daughter's life. I stayed long enough to smile at a waiter and say I needed some air. I didn't look back at the table. I already knew what it looked like without me. I walked toward the door, thinking about how I'd paid for the dinner, which is probably where this really began. A few hours earlier, none of it had happened yet. I'd booked the restaurant myself, downtown Naperville. Megan forwarded me the name and wrote, "They're pretty busy. Hope that's okay." "No, please." "No thanks. Just logistics." I called anyway, gave my name, gave my card. The hostess paused, then asked for a deposit. I read the numbers off without thinking. Primary card, the one I always use. "Guest count?" she asked. I checked the text Megan sent. 12. Then another message popped in. "Make it 14. Mark's parents decided to come." No question mark, just information. I confirmed the cake flavor. Chocolate with raspberry. Megan's favorite since she was little. I added wine because I knew they'd expect it. I heard myself say, "Yes, go ahead." A few times too many. That's kind of my tell. When I arrived, Megan kissed my cheek, already distracted. "You found the place okay?" Her eyes were already sliding past me toward the door. Mark's mother shook my hand. Firm grip. "Quick scan. You handled all this?" she asked, glancing around. I helped. I replied. I didn't feel like explaining what helped actually meant. Mark's father leaned back in his chair, voice light, almost amused. "So you're still managing the fund?" "Right. After your husband passed." The word fund landed heavy, like something fragile they weren't supposed to touch. "Yes," I said. "I am." He nodded, satisfied. No follow-up. Just a small smile exchanged with his wife. The kind people use when they think they've confirmed something important. Megan didn't jump in. She was busy showing her friend pictures on her phone. Something about a renovation, something expensive. A waiter came by and thanked me for the deposit. Out loud. At the table, Megan winced. Just a little. That should have been my first warning. Everyone relaxed after that. Drinks ordered freely. Extra appetizers added. No one checked prices. They laughed easily. Like the ground under them was solid. It's strange how comfortable people get when they think the bill isn't theirs. After the photo, there was this pause. Not awkward. More like unfinished. People checking their phones. Someone asking if dessert was coming out yet. Megan didn't look at me right away. She was already scrolling through the pictures. Thumb moving fast. Let me see. Her friend leaned in. Oh my God, that one's perfect. I stood there for a second too long. Long enough to feel in the way again. I smiled. It felt stiff. But it held. I understand. I told Megan. The words came out calm, which surprised me. I reached into my purse and pulled out the envelope I'd brought. Thick, heavier than a card. I set it down next to her plate, right by the fork she'd barely touched. She glanced at it. Just a glance. What's that? She asked, distracted. Your gift, I replied. Simple, neutral. Her mother-in-law noticed immediately. Her eyes flicked to the envelope. Then to me. Mark's father stopped mid-sip, watching like he was trying not to stare. No one reached for it. No one asked again. Let's do another one, someone said, already lifting the phone. Just the family this time. That did it. I picked up my purse. I'm going to head out. I told the table. I didn't wait for permission. I didn't explain. Megan finally looked up then, eyebrows lifting like she hadn't expected me to move on my own. Oh, okay, she muttered. Not upset, just thrown off. Mark gave me that same polite smile from earlier. Still no words. I nodded once, turned away, walked past the waiter who was carrying plates toward us. Smelled sugar and coffee in the air, felt my phone buzz in my bag. I didn't check it. By the time I reached the door, I heard laughter again behind me, the night picking up where it left off. They didn't open the envelope, but none of them forgot I left it behind. I drove home alone. No music. Just the hum of the road and the turn signal clicking too loud. My hands were steady on the wheel, which felt wrong. I kept waiting for the shake to hit. At a red light, my phone lit up on the passenger seat. Megan's name flashed once, then disappeared. I didn't pick it up. I told myself I just needed a minute. That was a lie, but it worked for the drive. By the time I pulled into my driveway, my head was already doing inventory. Not emotions, facts. The inheritance wasn't Megan's. It never was. It came from my husband, and he made sure of that before he got sick. Everything went into a trust. Clear language, no wiggle room. Megan was a conditional beneficiary. Education support, housing support, discretionary funds, all of it dependent on my approval. I was the trustee. Sole, final. He'd been blunt about it. Lying in that hospital bed. Voice barely there. Promise me you won't hand her the keys just because it's easier. He'd told me, make her stand on her own feet. I remember nodding, thinking we had time, thinking it wouldn't be this hard inside the house. I kicked off my shoes and stood in the kitchen. The clock on the stove blinked the wrong time. I never fixed it. Some habits stick. My phone buzzed again. I picked it up this time. Opened the photo app instead. There was an old picture of Megan at 6. Front teeth missing. Knees scraped. She was holding a paper crown I'd helped her glue together. Pride all over her face. I stared at it longer than I meant to. Maybe I should call her. I muttered out loud. The sound of my own voice startled me, like I'd invited someone else into the room. I hovered over her name. My thumb hesitated. Then I thought about that empty space in the photo, how easily someone stepped into it. I set the phone face down on the counter. If I went back now, I'd be expected to go back forever. I didn't sleep much. Not because I was crying, because my brain wouldn't shut up. It kept lining things up in neat rows, like it was already preparing paperwork. By 8 the next morning, I had coffee in one hand and my phone in the other. I called my attorney, Patricia. I've known her for years. She handled the trust after my husband died. Practical woman. Doesn't waste words. Morning, Marianne, she answered. You sound awake. I am. I told her. I need to make a few changes. She didn't rush me. That's one of the reasons I pay her. I want to remove Megan as an authorized user on all my credit cards. I said. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. Effective immediately. Okay, Patricia replied. Keyboard tapping. That's simple. I want to pause discretionary transfers from the trust. Education and medical clauses stay. Everything else stops. Another pause. More typing. That's within your authority. I'm not touching the mortgage, but I'm revoking her access to my primary residence. She can stay in her own house, but she's no longer welcome in mine. I understand, she said. And I believed her. We went through it line by line. No drama, no speeches, just confirmation. She reminded me everything would be documented, that notifications would be automatic, that I didn't owe anyone an explanation. After we hung up, I opened my banking app. It felt strange how easy it was. A few taps. The app confirmed the request. By the time she tried to order another round of drinks, those cards would be pieces of useless plastic. I updated the trustee instructions for the discretionary fund. The lifestyle allowance was now frozen. Any further draw required my physical signature. That was it. I sat there for a minute, staring at the counter, waiting for something. Guilt, relief, panic. All I felt was tired. Around noon, my phone started buzzing again. I didn't answer. Instead, I forwarded Patricia a message she'd asked for earlier and made myself toast. Burned it slightly, scraped it off and ate it anyway. Here's the thing no one tells you. Cutting support doesn't feel powerful in the moment. It feels quiet, administrative, like changing an address or canceling a subscription you don't use anymore. I wasn't punishing Megan. I wasn't teaching a lesson. I was doing what she'd already done to me, accepting the boundary she drew. I stepped out of her life the same way I stepped out of that photo, calmly, without making a scene. If I wasn't family in her photo, I didn't need to be the bank in her life. By the time Megan posted the photos, I was already in Oak Park. My friend Lila opened the door with a glass of wine in her hand. You look like someone who escaped something. She told me. I did. I answered. That was enough for both of us. She didn't pry. Lila's good like that. We sat at her kitchen table, scrolling our phones in that quiet, companionable way. Then my screen refreshed. There it was. Megan's post. Perfect family night. 4 photos. Same frame I'd stepped out of. Everyone leaning in, smiles wide. Her husband's arm around her waist. His parents front and center, filters softening the edges. I tapped through them slowly, like I was checking for a detail I already knew wouldn't be there. Lila glanced over. That your girl? Yes. She nodded once. Looked staged. While that picture was getting likes, my phone buzzed again. Not Megan, the bank. Authorized user removed successfully. Another buzz. Scheduled transfer failed. Then another. Card notification. Declined. I didn't read the full messages. I didn't need to. I knew the order things fell apart in. I'd signed off on it myself. Lila watched my face change. Everything okay? Everything's accurate, I told her. She laughed softly. That bad? Huh. I took a sip of wine. It tasted sharp. It's just catching up. My phone lit up again, this time Megan's name. Then again, and again. I turned the screen face down on the table, not answering. Lila asked. Not tonight. She lifted her glass. Good. We talked about other things. Her neighbor's ridiculous remodel, a mutual friend who still couldn't cook pasta right, normal stuff, grounding stuff. Across town, my daughter was still smiling for the camera, still riding the high of a night she thought was paid for and permanent. She was still smiling online while the money quietly disappeared. The first night, my phone didn't stop. It buzzed while I was brushing my teeth at Lila's, and again when I crawled into bed. By morning, there were 12 missed calls. I played the first voicemail. "Mom, call me back, now." Megan's voice was clipped. "The restaurant tried to run the final bill for the wine and extras, and your card is account closed. This is humiliating." By the fifth message, she was shouting over the clinking of dishes. "Fix this, right now." As the week passed, her tone shifted from heat to strain. "Everything's late," she whispered in one. "The utilities, the club fees, Mark's upset." I thought it was automatic. That one sat with me. It proved she hadn't been living her life, she'd been coasting on mine. 34 missed calls in total. Not one of them asked how I was. I didn't call back. If you've ever waited for guilt to knock you over and it doesn't, you know how unsettling that piece is. The fallout arrived in envelopes. Megan forwarded photos of Notice's electric, water, and a bold suspended from the country club. She even left a confused voicemail about the auto pay she hadn't realized I controlled. Then Mark called. This wasn't his polite party voice. This was annoyed. "You put Megan in a bad position." He snapped. "My parents are asking why you'd do this. She told me I wasn't family." I said, "I listened. You didn't have to take everything." He exhaled. "I didn't take her life. Mark, I just stopped subsidizing a family that thinks I'm an outsider. You have the photo you wanted? Now you have the bills too." He hung up. Megan didn't call for days. When she finally did, she sounded thin. "His parents don't invite me anymore. They talk to him, not me." I thought I finally fit. She'd curated her perfect frame, polished it, and cut me out. She kept the family in the photo and lost the foundation holding it up. She tried the spare key I'd given her years ago. The lock didn't even turn. I'd had the tumblers changed at 7 a.m. That was the first silence she had to face before she finally knocked. No call, no warning. I saw her car through the front window and felt my shoulders tense before I even stood up. When I opened the door, she was already crying. Not the quiet kind, the messy kind. Makeup streaked, hair pulled back like she'd done it in a hurry. "You did this on purpose," she blurted. "You waited until everything depended on you." I stayed where I was. Door open, body still inside the house. That line mattered. I didn't wait. I told her, "You spoke first." She laughed once, sharp and ugly. "You're being dramatic. It was one picture. Then why did it change everything?" My voice stayed even. I surprised myself with that. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "You could have talked to me. You always talk to me. You fix things." There it was, not apology, expectation. "I don't know how to do this without your help." She added, softer now. "They look at me differently. Mark's parents, even Mark, they keep asking what happened." I leaned against the doorframe. The wood felt solid, real. I needed that. This is the part where people expect the mother to fold. I didn't. "You told me I wasn't family." I said. "I respected that." She shook her head hard. "That's not what I meant. It's what you said." She stepped forward like she might come inside. I didn't move. The space between us stayed exactly the same. "So that's it." Her voice dropped. "You're just done." I stopped pretending. I replied, "There's a difference." She stared at me like she was trying to recognize someone she'd lost. Maybe she had. Maybe we both had. "I need you," she whispered. I nodded once. Not yes, just acknowledgement. "I know," I said, "but needing me isn't the same as seeing me." She stood there a moment longer, then turned back toward her car. No hug, no goodbye, just the sound of her shoes on the walkway, fading. I closed the door gently. My hands were steady. This was the first time I didn't fix something for her. A few weeks passed before Megan reached out again. This time it wasn't crying. It was careful. She called while I was in the yard. Dirt on my hands. Phone balanced on the table nearby. I let it ring twice before answering. "Mom?" she began, soft, measured. "I just wanted to talk. I'm listening." I replied. She cleared her throat. "Things are tense. Mark's parents keep asking questions. They think this whole situation makes us look unstable." A pause. "If you could just help smooth things over, appear at dinner, let them see we're fine." There it was. Not reconciliation, presentation. I'm not coming back for appearances. I told her. No edge. Just fact. "You don't have to give money." She rushed in. "Just be there." I was there. I answered. "You asked me to step out." Silence. Then a small, tired sound. "I didn't know it would cost this much." I did. I said, "That's why I stopped." She hung up soon after. No fight. No goodbye. I went back to what I was doing, pressing soil down around a plant that didn't need much attention, just consistency. Later, I took out my phone and snapped a photo. Not for anyone else, not to post. Just proof I existed where I stood. The phone buzzed a few minutes later. A message from Megan. No words, just a link to a resale site. She was liquidating the memories I'd paid for just to keep the lights on. It wasn't a message of love. It was a white flag made of leather and gold hardware. I didn't respond. Here's the thing I learned, and maybe it's worth holding on to. Love doesn't mean endless access. Being a parent doesn't mean disappearing so someone else can feel bigger. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is step back and let people feel the weight of their choices. If this story hit somewhere close to home, hit like, leave a comment if you've ever been pushed out of your own place. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. I stepped out of the photo, and from the outside, I finally saw everything clearly.